Some financial outlets, it seems, are starting to point out the obvious. A fact that fans have been shouting from the rooftops ever since Disney started putting out their Star Wars content that Disney does not understand Star Wars. They don't understand what made it great, and they don't even understand why people love it so much. Like, that much is clear from watching their content. They've also fumbled in recent years with their other properties because they no longer know how to write good stories altogether, one could say. The new Marvel shows, movies aren't resonating, and the Pixar movies aren't either. See their own properties, the ones that they also had before, aren't resonating. The live action remakes, they're tanking. Things are not looking good for Disney. It's looking pretty dire. I stumbled upon this article that just came out. Like I said, these financial outlets are finally getting wind of what's going on. Like it's hurting their bottom line. The big wigs, the stockholders of Disney, it's hurting their wallets. So they're gonna start looking for changes. The Force has left Lucasfilm. What has gone wrong for the studio behind Star Wars and Indiana Jones, and how Disney's Bob Iger can salvage his $4 billion investment? Okay, so that's not a question. That is a statement. What has gone wrong? So something's gone wrong for the studio behind Star Wars and Indiana Jones, and how Disney's Bob Iger can salvage. Notice this word right here, salvage. That right there implies that something has definitely gone wrong and needs to be salvaged. This investment, he hasn't been able to get back this investment, a very good return on this investment, at least, because the movies themselves, they made close to 4 billion, but you gotta take into account that a lot of that goes to the theaters. uh, Disney does not get all of that money. Taking time out of his busy schedule running Disney, Bob Iger flew to the Cannes Film Festival in support of Harrison Ford's latest movie, even posting on social media snapshots of the aging action hero on the red carpet. Lucasfilm Limited had just premiered the fifth installment in its Indiana Jones franchise, and a lot is riding on the fedora sporting, bullwhip toting archaeologist portrayed by the now 80-year-old Hollywood star. I I have heard one review of this movie that said um it's not worth the whip. It's not worthy of the whip. That's what I heard. And that is a very damning statement for this movie. Things are not looking good for this movie, and it hasn't even released yet. At nearly $300 million, Dial of Destiny is one of the most expensive films ever made, and initial reviews suggest it could bomb big at the box office when it lands on June 30th. And my guess is it probably will. You got to make at least $1 billion for this to even break even at this point. When Iger acquired Lucasfilm for just over $4 billion a decade ago, it paired the century old animation company with the studio behind Star Wars and Raiders of the Lost Ark. Yet the match made in heaven now risks becoming an albatross around Disney's neck. The third Skywalker trilogy started off with a bang in late 2015 with The Force Awakens, only to end with a whimper 4 years later as fans deserted the franchise. See, at least they're admitting right here that people did become apathetic to this franchise. The studio hadn't produced a theatrical release of any kind since, allowing the Marvel Cinematic Universe, despite recent setbacks, to supplant it as Disney's cash cow. The Force has left Lucasfilm, said Eric Schiffer, CEO of private equity firm Patriarch Organization, in an interview. That emotional connection it enjoyed with fans has been damaged. See, even these financial bigwigs, as I said, are pointing this out now. Like, it's noticeable, the damage that's been done. The Los Angeles-based media industry investor and self-admitted Star Wars fan still counts the deal a success for Iger, but he believes it got lost producing too much subpar content for Disney. Oof. That's an indictment on your part. At Disney, less is now more. To get the Force back, Lucasfilm needs to reconnect with its Joseph Campbell roots. The inner set of mythologies were all hardwired to that motivated Lucas to create Star Wars in the first place. Yes, exactly. The hero's journey, the hero with 1,000 faces, all that good stuff. That's what he's referring to. He argues the constant hunger to feed the streaming business with fresh material helped sow the seeds for the current malaise. Yes, Disney was so focused on just putting out content to fill time, to fill the months in between other projects, that they started just putting out crap, and it's noticeable. Uh, he calls it subpar. I call it crap. I watched Book of Boba Fett. I watched uh, the Obi-Wan series, and they were trash. Both of them. The Mandalorian is kind of going downhill. It wasn't great from the get-go. It was okay. It was good at places, very good at places, but for the most part, just that's what's subpar is Mandalorian, in my opinion. Even see, he mentions it. Even as the Mandalorian, the series that started it all for Disney Plus, in Iger's words, helped the CEO attract subscribers and catch up quickly to Netflix. It came at a cost of stretching the Star Wars brand beyond recognition. Yeah, one could argue The Mandalorian is what saved Star Wars, although briefly. It's not even retaining its audience from the first season. Now that growth has faltered, with 4 million customers canceling their membership in the 3 months through March, and Wall Street is pushing Iger to end the scattergun approach of showering creators with money for new content. Instead, investors want him to end the over $10 billion in cumulative streaming losses since the launch of Disney Plus 3.5 years ago. The idea that less is often more could apply to Lucasfilm's Indiana Jones films, which enjoyed their heyday in the 1980s. Fans were largely satisfied when the titular character finished on a high note, literally riding off into the sunset at the end of the third film. Yeah, they should have ended it there. And so when Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls was released 15 years ago, damn, was that long ago? The spectacle of seeing an aging Ford emerge unscathed from a nuclear blast by hiding in a refrigerator left no one asking more. But they will get a sequel nonetheless, when Dial of Destiny swings into theaters a full 42 years after the first installment. Yeah, for some reason, Harrison Ford's always been more attached to Indiana Jones than Han Solo. That's the character he resonated with more. So he was always clamoring to come back and play Indiana Jones again. So it was inevitable. It was inevitable that we'd see him play Indiana Jones again, as long as he was still alive. Factoring in marketing and distribution costs, including the cinema's cut of receipts, it will likely have to pull in around $800 million at the box office just to break even. Yeah, I think it's upwards of $1 billion. They're being conservative here. Franchises cannot be measured in box office receipts alone. Iger didn't come out of retirement in November just to watch his prized possessions wither on the vine. Or maybe he did. The board expects him to right the ship, breathe life back into the dormant stock, and resume paying a cash dividend to shareholders. They want their money. You better be good on your promises. To do so, he'll need to churn out family-friendly fare full of iconic characters and thrilling settings capable of being repurposed into immersive experiences for his amusement parks. Echo? Think that's going to work? Feige called that show, what did he say? Unreleasable, unwatchable? Something like that. The value of intellectual property cannot be measured simply in a franchise's box office receipts, said Guy Bisson, co-founder of the media industry research firm Ampere Analysis. You need to take into account its contribution in streaming, in merchandising, and the characters and rides at parks. Yeah, what have I been saying? It's not the box office that gets most of the money. It's merchandising, 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 where the real money from the movie's made. For example, Disney finance chief Christine McCarthy explained to investors something seemingly mundane as refreshments can squeeze more revenue out of each Disney World visitor if they can be turned into a Star Wars themed experience. Yeah, the problem with that is you used the Disney sequel trilogy in your Disney themed experience with the Galactic Star Cruiser and see how well that turned out. It's closing in September. Oh, Lord. But Lucasfilm, which did not respond to Fortune's request for comment, knows it is running out of excuses now that a movie based on a Nintendo video game proved you can still rake in over $1 billion post pandemic as long as you have the right concept. Yes, exactly. There's no more excuses for the failures. For this very reason, Iger notably started off his fiscal quarter two earnings call this month by congratulating Universal for the success of Super Mario Bros. It gives us reason to be optimistic about the future business, the movie business, he said. It also kind of undermines everything you've been doing. uh, Lucasfilm's first return to the theaters in years opens to poor reviews. The pressure on Dial of Destiny to perform for the Disney CEO became apparent through a telling exchange at Cannes, which he was attending for the first time. Film critic Pete Hammond recounted Iger's reaction when informed Deadline just published a rave review of the fifth Indiana Jones movie. You could see the absolute relief on his face. You have made me very happy to hear that, he told me. And he meant it. That's probably because first impressions have otherwise been dreadful, with a franchise low 50% score on Rotten Tomatoes as of writing. Vanity Fair proclaimed is not worthy of the whip. That's that's the one I was thinking about. While the BBC felt Ford's globe-trotting adventure had been relegated to a background figure in his own film. Oh, big surprise. This is Lucasfilm we're talking about, right? This is Disney Lucasfilm we're talking about. Included mainly for the purpose of being upstaged by a younger co-star Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Big surprise, as I said. I'm not sure how many fans want to see Indiana Jones as a broken, helpless old man who cowers in the corner while his patronizing goddaughter takes the lead, but that's what we're given, and it's as bleak as it sounds, the BBC wrote, branding it a gloomy and depressing final act. Oh, yeah, I'm looking forward to this now. With Disney needing to shell out $9 billion at least to buy Comcast out of Hulu as early as next year, the last thing Iger needs is bad word of mouth building over the next 4 weeks to asphyxiate any hopes of blockbuster success. Right now, though, grim news is all that Lucasfilm has to offer the Disney CEO. An attempt to expand on the lore of its 1988 fantasy tale Willow flopped hard when the series debuted on Disney Plus in November. Yeah, always be wary when they don't give you the streaming numbers because that means they're trying to hide something. The numbers are so low, they don't want to tell you. If they were high, they would freaking scream it from the rooftops. They would they would broadcast it. Not only was it canceled at the first of the 3 seasons, but the show was banished entirely from the platform as part of a thorough spring cleaning. Critics argued Willow in retrospect would have been more valuable to Disney as a tax write-off than as actual content for subscribers. That's freaking sad. I loved the original Willow, and I loved the original 3 Indiana Jones movies. It's just sad to see Disney mishandle these properties so freaking badly. Fans desert Disney Star Wars. At the heart of this mess is Lucasfilm President Kathleen Kennedy. The ire in all of our spittle. A member of Fortune's 2015 class of most powerful women, the youthful 69-year-old youthful who wrote this is an accomplished industry veteran in her own right, producing dozens of classic feature films including Jurassic Park and E.T. the Extraterrestrial. She sat on the shoulders of giants. Yet even being George Lucas's hand-picked successor has not shielded her from hefty criticism. You can say that again. A number of fans begrudge her, along with Last Jedi writer-director Rian Johnson, for deconstructing Luke Skywalker in the third trilogy. Actor Mark Hamill distanced himself from the creative choices Johnson and Kennedy took with his iconic character in a rare industry rebuke. Yeah, I think since then, though, he's been hush about it. And there's even, I saw another article with him saying, my time as Luke Skywalker has passed. They're probably just going to use his likeness in digital recreations from now on, like they did in Mandalorian. Antagonized by the perceived shabby treatment of their childhood heroes, fewer and fewer fans showed up from one movie to the next. The third and final installment, Rise of Skywalker, only took in half of the $2 billion that premiere film Force Awakens made for Disney. It's perhaps no wonder that the company's $5,000 per package Star Wars themed hotel The Galactic Star Cruiser, which I referenced, is shutting down. The tactical mistake of placing it in the timeline of the Disney sequel trilogy doomed it to a lifespan of just 18 months after opening. Let that sink in. This hotel did not even last 2 years. That's fucking sad. Those wealthy enough to fork over thousands of dollars just to roleplay their heroes tend to be middle-aged fans of the original films who want to do battle against the sinister Darth Vader they remember as kids, not the bland and forgettable Kylo Ren. Could Kennedy go? That's a good question. A lot of people say she probably won't leave until she's good and ready, or she freaking kicks the bucket. We shall see. Following the disappointment of 2019's The Rise of Skywalker, no further theatrical films got off the ground despite past proclamations. Numerous Hollywood creatives like Lost's Damon Lindelof, Wonder Woman director Patty Jenkins, and Thor Ragnarok's Taika Waititi were all reportedly attached to new Star Wars projects, to no avail. As a result, the Star Wars universe has only lived on in Disney's streaming platform with mixed critical success. Because of the drop-off in interests, Iger and his studio boss Alan Bergman are now in a difficult position. The Disney CEO has not spared high-ranking figures like Marvel's Ike Perlmutter or Victoria Alonso from the X. Yeah, they were scapegoats. And he has demanded results from his teams in exchange for greater creative control. There needs to be a direct connection between what's being spent and what's being earned from a revenue perspective. It's all about accountability, Iger said in March. Older Star Wars fans want to see Kennedy go in favor of someone like Jon Favreau, the Iron Man director and creator of Mandalorian. Allegedly, negotiations over whether to renew her contract due to expire next year are slated for this August. My bet is she stays just with a different mission, wagers Schiffer. The problem isn't Kathleen Kennedy. Are you sure? There's so many, as was just pointed out earlier in this article, so many of these creatives have left projects due to creative differences between them and Kathleen Kennedy. There's a common denominator in a lot of these problems you're having. I mean, sure, she's the. You could get rid of her though, and there'd still be a problem because it's the disease has been able to fester for about 10 years within Lucasfilm, so it's taken over. It's better to just fire everyone and start from scratch. Find good creatives, put them in the position, find actual Star Wars fans and get them writing. I don't know. Might be too late by now. You lost too many fans. Everything can be fixed with the right script, not necessarily. If Indiana Jones does flop, what then? Disney's 18 months away from getting a new CEO. Could Iger's successor, unwilling to mop up his Lucasfilm mess, consider disposal? Yeah. Yeah, we're all just waiting with bated breath to see what happens when Indiana Jones releases. We might see some big changes after that. Unlikely, argues Ampere Analysis Bison. Ingenious storytellers can always dream up more compelling Star Wars content, so long as they own the IP. Yeah, rumor has it that Disney will someday want to remake the original trilogy. We shall see if that's. Yeah, that I don't think that would go over well. Because even with all the crap we've gotten, people still love the original trilogy. Even Return of the Jedi, which people argue, is not as good as the other two, they still love the entire story of that original trilogy. If you go to try and tamper with it at all, like people already gave George Lucas shit for tampering with his original trilogy, with the special editions, all the changes he made. Like, imagine what would happen if Disney just decided to remake them. That would be a shitstorm of epic proportions, in my opinion. So, do you think they would actually get rid of Lucasfilm? Just offload it to somebody? This guy, the industry expert, told Fortune, I cannot personally see Disney offloading Lucasfilm in the immediate future. Perhaps sensing the need to deliver after a long creative drought, Kennedy announced in April that not one but 3 new Star Wars films were in the works, including a Rey movie, which nobody asked for. Yet even those show the Lucasfilm boss is unwilling to commit to any one overarching narrative. in favor of spreading her bets. The trio are conceived as separate standalone stories, each set in a different period. Should any one or all three survive development and go into actual production, the damage can still be fixed with the right script and creative vision. Yeah, see, Kathleen Kennedy's idea of a solution is just make more movies with a strong female lead, and people will love it. It's not the fact that it's a strong female lead. You need a good story surrounding that lead, Kennedy. I don't know if you knew that. They're probably going to take. There's a book called Dawn of the Jedi Into the Void, and the rumor has it that one of the movies is going to be Dawn of the Jedi. That's the title. So my guess is they'll use a character similar to the one in that book and craft a story around her. It's just more cherry picking from the EU that they're doing because they have nothing left. They have no more. They have no more creativity. So, according to this guy, should any one or all three survive development and go into actual production, the damage can still be fixed with the right script and creative vision. This is not forever. If another film turned out to be good, the fans will be there. In fact, we'd be there first. Yeah, what he points out right there is exactly what I've been saying forever. If the film turned out to be good, the fans will be there. But your films haven't been good, so that's the problem. You need better creatives behind these projects. Oy. I don't know what else to say. I've said all there is to say at this point in time. We will just see what happens, but they really should just take a break. Take a break, regather their forces, maybe just clean house. With the writer's strike, we may see Lucasfilm clean house a little bit, but yeah, my guess is the disease will still be rampant within Lucasfilm. And we won't see anything good for a while. Oh, how should I end this? I didn't come up with a good enough ending for it, so I'll just end it on this.
Look, this isn't Windex, but it's just as good. It's the store brand.
No, you'd leave a film.
I'm okay with the film. Just use it.
No, I no can clean.
Shit. Hello?
I mean, Mr.